If you start with the number 1 and you get just 1% worse every single day for a year, mathematically, what do you have left? The answer is almost 0, specifically 0.03. But if you take that same number 1 and you get just 1% better each day, after 365 days, where do you end up? Not at 2, not at 10. You end up at 37.78. Let that sink in for a moment. If you stay stagnant or slip just a tiny bit each day, you decline down to nothing. But if you improve by just a fraction, an amount so small you can't even see it, you become 37 times better by the end of the year. We live in a world that is obsessed with overnight success. We see the viral videos, the sudden transformations, the people who seem to have it all figured out instantly. And we think, I need a quantum leap. I need to change everything right now. But the truth is, giant leaps often lead to burnout. It is the small steps, the invisible 1% changes that actually rewrite your destiny. Welcome back to Mira's English Podcast. I'm Mira. This is our quiet corner of the internet, a place where we don't rush, a place where we learn English, not through pressure or textbooks, but through stories of growth, mindset, and being gentle with ourselves. If you are listening to this and you feel stuck, if you feel like you are working hard but standing still, or if you are just tired of the constant hustle, then this episode is for you. Today, I want you to get comfortable. Maybe pour yourself a cup of tea, wrap yourself in a blanket, or just take a deep breath as you walk. We are going to explore the power of the 1% rule and why going slow is actually the fastest way to get where you want to go. You know, there is a concept in psychology that explains why so many of us give up. It's called the plateau of latent potential. It sounds complicated, but let me explain it with a simple image. Imagine you are sitting in a freezing cold room. The temperature is 25 degrees Fahrenheit. On the table in front of you, there is an ice cube. You can see your breath in the air. It is freezing. Your goal is to melt that ice cube. So you start to heat up the room. You work hard. The temperature goes from 25 to 26 degrees. You look at the ice cube. Nothing has happened. It is still just a solid block of ice. You keep working. 27 degrees, 28 degrees, still nothing. 29, 30, 31. At this point, you might feel like a failure. You might think, I have increased the temperature by 6 degrees. Why is there no change? All this effort is wasted. This is the moment where 90% of people quit. This is the valley of disappointment. But if you stay just a little longer, the temperature hits 32 degrees, and suddenly, crack, a drop of water runs down the side of the ice. The melting begins. Now ask yourself, was it that final 1 degree shift that melted the ice? No, it was all the work you did before that. It was the 26, the 27, the 28 degrees. That energy was being stored. It was latent. It wasn't wasted. It was just invisible. Your life works exactly the same way. When you practice English for 15 minutes a day, or when you read 2 pages of a book, or do 5 push-ups, for the first month, you might see absolutely no difference. You still make grammar mistakes. You still feel tired. You are in the phase of heating up the room. You are not wasting your time. You are building potential energy. The problem is, we expect progress to be a straight line. We think if we put in 1 unit of effort, we should get 1 unit of result immediately. But greatness doesn't work like that. Greatness compounds. Let's look at this from another angle. Let's talk about navigation. Imagine you are a pilot. You are flying a plane from Los Angeles to New York City. You take off and everything is going well. But imagine that right after takeoff, you accidentally adjust the nose of the plane by just 3.5 degrees to the south. 3.5 degrees, that is tiny. If you were a passenger on that plane, you wouldn't even feel the movement. You wouldn't notice a thing. The nose of the plane moves just a few feet. But over the course of a journey across the entire United States, that tiny 3.5 degree shift gets magnified. And instead of landing in New York, you would land in Washington, D.C. That is 225 miles away. You end up in a completely different city, a different state, a different destination. All because of a microscopic shift at the beginning. Your habits are like that plane. A 1% improvement today, like choosing to listen to this podcast instead of scrolling through social media, or choosing to drink water instead of soda. That is a 3-degree shift. In the moment, it feels insignificant. Tomorrow, you will still be the same person, but over a year, over 5 years, or 10 years, that trajectory leads you to a completely different life. This is the scary part, though. This rule works both ways. If you let your habits slip by 1%, if you complain just a little bit more each day, if you neglect your health just a tiny bit each day, you won't ruin your life overnight. But slowly the plane turns. And one day, you wake up in a place you never wanted to be, feeling unhealthy, unhappy, or stuck. And you wonder, how did I get here? You got there 1% at a time. Success is not a destination you run to. Success is a lagging measure of your habits. Your bank account is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. And your English fluency is a lagging measure of your study habits. Now, I want to ask you a question. Be honest with me. Do you have goals for yourself right now? Maybe you want to get an IELTS score of 7. Maybe you want to lose 10 pounds. Maybe you want to write a book. We are taught that to be successful, we must set big, ambitious goals. But I have realized something interesting, and maybe a little controversial. In any competition, the winners and the losers actually have the exact same goals. Think about the Olympics. Every athlete on the track wants the gold medal. No one goes there wanting to come in last place. Every candidate applying for a job wants to get hired. If both the winners and the losers have the same goal, then the goal cannot be the thing that makes the difference. The difference is the system. The goal is the result you want. The system is the process that gets you there. If you are learning English, your goal might be fluency, but your system is, I listen to English for 10 minutes while I drink my coffee every morning. When you focus only on goals, you push your happiness into the future. You tell yourself, once I reach my goal, then I'll be happy. Right now, I'm not good enough. This creates a constant state of failure until you hit that one moment of success. And even if you do hit it, what happens next? This is the yo-yo effect. You see people run a marathon, they train hard, they cross the finish line, and then they stop running for months because the goal is done. They had no system to keep them going. To get 1% better every day, you have to fall in love with the process, not the product. You have to fall in love with the boredom of consistency. Don't try to write a book. Try to become the person who writes 200 words every day. Don't try to get a perfect body. Try to become the person who never misses a workout. When you love the system, you can be happy right now. The moment you press play on this podcast, you have already won. Because your system is working. You don't need to be fluent to be proud of yourself today. You just need to show up. So, how do we stick to a system without fighting ourselves? How do we stop relying on willpower? The answer lies in the deepest layer of behavior change. It is your identity. It is how you see yourself. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people who are trying to quit smoking. When offered a cigarette, the first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." It sounds like a reasonable response, right? But listen closely. It implies that deep down, they still believe they are a smoker who is trying to do something else. They are fighting their own identity. Now, look at the second person. When offered a cigarette, they simply say, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." It's a small difference in words, but a massive difference in mindset. This person has shifted their identity. Smoking is no longer part of who they are. They don't need willpower because they are just acting like themselves. True lasting change starts from the inside out. The reason we fail to stick to our 1% habits is that our self-image gets in the way. If you want to speak English, but you keep telling yourself, "I'm bad at languages," or "I'm too shy," then you will eventually sabotage your own progress. Your brain always tries to align your actions with your beliefs. So, to get 1% better, we need to reverse the process. Instead of saying, "I want this result, so I will do this act," say to yourself, "I am this type of person, and this is what people like me do." You want to be a writer? Don't wait until you have a published book. Every time you write a sentence, you are a writer. You want to be healthy? Every time you choose to take the stairs instead of the elevator, you are an athlete. You want to be an English speaker? Every time you understand a sentence I say, you are an English user. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. You don't need to be perfect. In an election, you don't need 100% of the votes to win. You just need the majority. So if you have a bad day, if you slip up, it's okay. That was just one vote for the old identity. Tomorrow, you just cast a new vote for the new you. I know what you might be thinking right now. Mira, this sounds beautiful, but how do I actually start? My life is messy, I'm busy, and honestly, sometimes I'm just lazy. I hear you, and I promise you, you don't need superhuman discipline. In fact, the best way to start is to make it so easy, so small, that you can't say no. I have a few specific tools, psychological tricks really, that will help you trick your brain into getting 1% better without the pain. We are going to dive into the 2-minute rule and the art of habit stacking right now. So, how do we make starting easy? The biggest barrier to any new habit is simply the start. The friction of the first step. You stare at your running shoes and you think about the pain of running 3 miles, so you don't run at all. You stare at a textbook and you think about studying for an hour, so you open Instagram instead. To bypass this fear, I want you to use the 2-minute rule. The rule is simple. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Read 30 pages? No, read 1 page. Do 30 minutes of yoga? No. Take out your yoga mat. Study English grammar? No. Learn 1 vocabulary word. You might think, Mira, that sounds silly. Reading 1 page won't make me smart. 1 word won't make me fluent. But here is the secret. You are not trying to improve your performance yet. You are trying to master the art of showing up. A habit must be established before it can be improved. You cannot optimize a habit that does not exist. So for the first 2 weeks, your only goal is to show up for 2 minutes. Even if you do a terrible job, even if you just open the book, read a sentence, and close it, you are casting a vote for your identity. You are proving to yourself that you are the kind of person who shows up. Once you start, it is much easier to keep going. But you have to make the start so small that your brain cannot say no. The second tool is called habit stacking. This is one of my favorites because it takes the effort out of remembering. Many people say, "I will meditate more often," or "I will write in my journal more," but they forget, because more often is not a specific time. Instead of relying on time or motivation, rely on an anchor. An anchor is a habit you already do every single day without thinking, like brushing your teeth, making coffee, or getting into bed. We are going to stack the new 1% habit on top of the old habit. The formula is, after I, current habit, I will, new habit. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will listen to 1 English podcast episode. After I take off my work shoes, I will immediately put on my gym clothes. After I lay my head on the pillow, I will think of 1 thing I am grateful for. You are piggybacking on the neural pathways that are already strong in your brain. You don't need to summon willpower. You just follow the chain reaction. Coffee equals English. Shoes equals gym. Pillow equals gratitude. It becomes automatic. And the third tool is environment design. I want you to stop relying on self-control. People with high self-control don't actually fight temptation all day. They simply design their lives so they don't have to use self-control. If you want to read more, don't hide your book on a shelf. Put it on your pillow, so when you go to bed, you have to move it. If you want to drink more water, fill a glass and put it on your desk before you sit down. If you want to stop scrolling on your phone, charge it in another room. Design your space so that the good habits are the path of least resistance and the bad habits are difficult. Make the 1% improvement easy to reach. Make the 1% decline hard to reach. Be the architect of your own world. Now, I need to talk to you about the most important part of this journey, because no matter how good your system is, no matter how small you start, life will happen. You will get sick, you will get busy, you will feel sad, and you will break the chain. You will miss a day. And when that happens, the perfectionist in your head will scream, "See, you failed. You ruined the streak. You might as well give up." Please do not listen to that voice. Getting 1% better is not about being a robot. It is about being a human who keeps trying. I want you to adopt the rule of never miss twice. If you miss 1 day of studying English, it happens. That is an accident. But if you miss 2 days, that is the start of a new habit, a habit of quitting. So, if you miss a day, don't beat yourself up. Don't spiral into guilt. Guilt is a terrible fuel for growth. You cannot hate yourself into a version of yourself you love. Instead, just get back on track immediately. The next rep, the next minute, the next morning. The first mistake doesn't ruin you. It's the spiral that follows that ruins you. Be gentle with your stumbling. Think of a child learning to walk. When they fall, do you yell at them? Do you tell them they are a failure? No, you smile, you pick them up, and you say, try again. Why don't you treat yourself with the same kindness? Falling is part of the process. Stopping is the only failure. We have talked a lot about theory today. Now, let's do something small, right here, right now, to get that 1% improvement. We are going to do a mini dictation challenge. I am going to read a quote about habits. I want you to grab a pen and paper or open the Notes app on your phone. I will read it 3 times. First, at normal speed. Second, very slowly so you can write. And third, normal speed again so you can check. Are you ready? Let's focus. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. Did you get it? That quote is from James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. If you wrote that down, congratulations. You just practiced listening, writing, and spelling. You just got 1% better than you were 2 minutes ago. See, it doesn't have to be painful. It just has to be done. As we come to the end of this episode, I want you to remember the ice cube. I want you to remember the pilot adjusting the plane just 3 degrees. You might feel like you are standing in the middle of a long, dark tunnel. You can't see the light at the end yet. But if you keep walking, if you keep taking those tiny, imperfect steps, eventually the light will appear. You don't need to change your whole life tonight. You just need to win the next 2 minutes. You just need to be a little bit better than you were yesterday. Life is not a sprint. It is not even a marathon. It is a series of moments. And in each moment, you have a choice to choose the easy path of decline or the gentle path of growth. I hope you choose growth, not because you hate who you are, but because you love who you are becoming. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I would love to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, what is one tiny 2-minute habit you are going to start today? Just one. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water. Maybe it's reading 1 page. Write it down to make it real. I read every comment, and I will be cheering for you. If you found this episode helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps our community grow, 1% at a time. Until next time, be patient with yourself. Trust the process. Stay soft, stay strong, and keep going. Goodbye for now.